All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to recap a little bit on the Delphi case. What do we know? Well, we know there was vehicles there that people claim they seen, but other people said no, them vehicles weren't there, right? So we were led down a winding road. We know this much: there was a dispute with his wife, right? She told, or he told her he wasn't there that day, and now he's saying he was there. So that was a discrepancy, right? So we're going to look at some great creators out there that have done a lot of footage, made their own videos and have already gone live on this stuff. And there are some great creators out there. Now, things change, and what we're going to discuss is microphones, right? Every microphone has a different sound. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, but let's check out Sleuth Intuition. Now, he's got some footage of the original photo of the shack, which Richard Allen, Sleuth is right. Richard Allen, when he was being interrogated, mentioned the shack and the McCains, right? That they were out there at the time of the murders. And there was numerous people that put themselves there that day as the murders were occurring. All right, now here's a photo that Sluition, excuse me, is showing. This is the original shack that was out there. Now, when this occurred, would it make sense to me that they did search that area and the girls possibly weren't there, or they were taken to the shack first, or this small barn first, and whatever was done to them was done to them? Then they were brought back to where the kill scene was? That's possible. Now, we know the police talked about this shack, and we also know that Richard Allen, in his interrogation, brought it up, and he also brought other people's names up when he was being questioned. That's very interesting, right? So they have his car there, right? They have his car that passed the camera right by the murder scene. They also have him talking about this in his interrogation when he's being interrogated, and he did mention people's names. And supposedly these people already had a history of bad things and were related to his channel in my chat. And we've all watched the Sleuth Intuition. I mean, the guy's been covering it. We all been covering it for a long time. Let me post that there. All right. And let me post it in my description. I know these people hate me. They'll probably strike me anyways. I don't hate them. I have nothing against these people. I don't know them. In order to have a beef with somebody, you gotta kind of know them or something, right? All right, now let's watch a little bit more here. Let me bring this down. And we're going to listen to a little bit of this. Let me find some.
Right here. So you would take the 505 down this way, So this is the High Bridge. This is the Mears Law over here. This is the Mary Gerard area, and this is where the corn crib was. Richard Allen referred to it as a shack. So you can kind of see the location right here. So you would take the 505 down this way, down the hill, and he talks about going down the hill and tearing down the old shack that's down there. That's this building here. I know it was up since 2011 because there's a music video on YouTube by Eric Hicks. And here's a short clip from it. And that's dated 2011. The song is called My Indian Friend. It's a really good song. Really cool video, really cool song. This is him actually coming up to the corn crib.
There is the shack. All right, so now...
And then right after this on the video, he goes up to the High Bridge. So he goes down.
All right, so now we got multiple evidence of this building existing and was out there and was known by many of them, right? You had Kurtz, you had a lot of these guys that were on camera saying they knew that area, they knew the bridge, that was a party place for them, cooked meth, yada yada yada, women, whatever. That was their little area, right? So a lot of people knew about this shack, but us normal people, YouTubers, people that had never been in Delphi, we had no idea what they were talking. What shack? Everybody's looking on Google Map trying to see something, and you really couldn't see it because it was so camouflaged by trees and everything. So everyone was confused. I was confused myself. They were talking about a shack, the movie, and I'm like, wait a minute, a shack, the movie? That don't make sense. What does that? Although the shack, the movie, might have played a role somewhere in this, but it didn't add up, right? So now there's evidence of this shack being there. Now, if they claim they searched that whole area the night of the murders and them girls were not there, then this might have been where they were. And once they called off the search, that gave whoever, I don't know, time to put the bodies where they were. For all we know, they could have been tied up and gagged in that shack. Right? Now, did people check that shack? I don't know. I don't know if people checked that shack. Right? How far away is it from there? We don't know. But we know this much. They say the McCain brothers own that, which are related to whoever they're saying, police or government or lawyers or whatever. And then themselves have a history of burning stuff down or something like that. I'm not sure. But is it possible they were tied up and gagged and sat there as the search was going on? It's possible. It's very possible. And then after the search was called off, they went back. That's possible. Is it possible the killer brought a weapon with because he was going back out there? It's possible. Is it possible he racked it in the middle of the night, accidentally maybe, or whatever it may be, and it was dark and he couldn't find the round? Well, that's possible too. Anything's possible. And let me remind you, it's an ongoing case. Even with Richard Allen and all these other guys, that did play a role in it. And the police got lucky when they found Keegan Kline. If Keegan Kline had nothing to do with it, well, at least you got one sicko off of the streets, right? And all glory goes to God for that. All right, so now let's continue a little bit with Mr. Sleuth Intuition's video, because he's got a couple good points there, right? And I agree with some of these people. If he would have never said anything to his wife, and if he would have never went to the police, would we be here today? And there's a good chance we wouldn't have been here today. And I do believe the police were on the right hunt, and they were using an open mind. And all tales of what were going on in Delphi and Indiana at that time, I don't blame them for keeping an open mind and saying there's others involved. And they're probably right, because at that time in Indiana, it was all over the news that they were creating this new force, and that was before Delphi. So, and the FBI being out there already, and all, yeah, the government was already probably telling us the truth from the beginning. All right, let's look at a couple more things in this video. Let me take this down. I did post for Sloot's channel, and
So, and this belongs to the McCains. Mary Gerard, I believe, might even be their grandmother or their mother. They're related. She's related to the McCains. This used to be their property right here. So, according to Richard Allen, for some reason, he talks about helping to tear this down. And it was torn down before the murders. That much I do know. But the fact that he knows this area so well that he's down there tearing down this shack, he's going to know about all of the little sneaky places down there. You know what I mean?
okay, now Sleuth is saying they tore this thing down before the murders. That Richard was out there tearing this down, and the McCains owned the property, yada yada yada. Okay, now the police talked about that shack. How did they know about that shack? How did they know anything about the shack and talk about it before Richard Allen even talked about it? Is my question. Who were they really looking at, or what was really going on in Delphi for the police to bring up this shack? Now they're saying, well, it was torn down before the murders. Yeah, but how did they know about that shack, that it was there? Why did they bring that up? Why did they talk to the killer or killers about the shack? Was it to confuse people and say, oh, well, it's the movie, we're talking about the movie shack, but in reality there was a shack there, right? And they must have known something, the Canes. Well, well, that was right by our shack, our corn shack. Well, what do you mean, right? I bet you they questioned the McCains or something. It was their property is around there, right? Did they know? Were they tipped off that they went to the McCains? Oh yeah, we had that tore down, right? We had it torn. Well, who tore it down? Oh, we had this guy went out there and helped tear it down and everything. And bingo, okay. So did they know? They very well might have been possibly already knew, and they were watching these people. That's a very good possibility. Let's continue on with the video.
He was at home there. He knew exactly what he was doing when he brought those girls across the creek. He knew either he had to or he planned to, but
I
he knew
agree.
that that would be the
I,
area where
I
he would
agree.
cross.
Many of them knew, and they on camera said they knew that area like the back of their hand. That was their spot.
But it does look right.
Okay, that's
All right,
Richard's
I'm almost
car.
done.
They're saying that's Rich. That's the car that passed. Now we were all led to believe it was a PT Cruiser, or it was a older Ford Escort or a Comet, and that's his car. It might have been a different color. I think Richard had black.
So above is the 2016 Ford Focus hatchback, and below is the Hoosier Harvestor Video, the car that they say belongs to Richard Allen. Okay, this is where he talks about Dan McCain.
We had, I don't know how I got associated with the Dan something or other that runs the area. I think it was Dan. Run like the Erie Canal thing. Mm-hmm. And
he always looks up into the camera.
We had, I don't know how I got associated with the Dan something or other that runs the area. I think it was Dan. Run like the Erie Canal thing. Mm-hmm. And McCain, yeah. Okay. I don't remember how I became acquainted with him, but we had.
So he's dropping the name of a person who was actually at the trails at the same time that he was. And we also had Brad.
All right, I'm not getting that. He's saying that the McCains were there that day. I'm not sure if that's what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is he's not sure how, but he was introduced or whatever, connected uh, to this guy Dan for something that ran that area or something, and that's where the connection was, right? Because they're saying it was the McCain's property and everything. So I'm not sure if the McCains were there that day, but they might have been. They might have been Flannel Guy. They might have been the other guy. They might have been, yeah, they might have been there that day. Very interesting, because there's multiple witnesses that said there was many people there that day in that area, right, on the trail as this all was all happening, and described different people, and also might have described the McCains. Who knows?
Brad Heath come forward. He actually tipped in what I think is the McCain vehicle parked on the side of the road there on 300. A little bit about 200 yards down the road from the CPS building. So it's kind of like he's playing dumb, right? I don't know how I got affiliated with what's his name? Dan McCain. Yeah, that's it. So I find it strange not only that he mentions the shack that I've been trying to talk about for a long time.
All right, so he's already talking and implicating people, not implicating, but mentioning their names. So, how many names did he mention? We're not sure because we haven't seen all the interviews and stuff, right? We don't know what they asked him. We don't know what they did. We know they interviewed him a couple times, right? They brought him in, they let him go home, uh, and then they went and arrested him and brought him. It's almost like the Keegan Klein stuff. They arrested Keegan Klein. They proved that that day he was talking to the girls, and he was affiliated with some kind of a pedo ring or some organization or group around there, and they let him go. right? And then they arrested him again years later, but right. So almost like that, they question him. They're interrogating him. He's giving out names. He's telling them things. They let Richard Allen go home, right? And his wife and everything. They, right off the bat, Crime Circus this morning showed that video of them interrogating him with his wife there. And right off the bat, they were questioning his wife, right? So right there was we seen his wife come into the interrogation room crying and tell what is going on. You said you weren't there, and they're questioning me like I have something to do with it, and yada yada yada. So the police, I think, right off the bat, probably, and they had the right to, and probably, if you lived in this area, you would have known why they were questioning, as there might have been possibly more there because the witnesses gave statements that each sketch looked different. So, yeah, it makes sense to me that, like I said, and many other people said if he would have never called the police, if he would have never said anything to his wife, would we be here today? Right. And I have a feeling someone mentioned his name within this. Right. And that's what led them, much like Keegan Kline probably was questioned, Kurtz, Chadwell. Like I said, that was a known spot. They knew it. It was some kind of a crew, club, gang. Even Anthony Greeno, who put himself there. Now, does Greeno have anything to do with this? I have no idea. But he put himself there, and he let people know that they took his device. Now, whether it had anything to do with the case, I don't know, but he himself said that on his videos, no one else. Same thing with the rest of the people that they were questioning. They put themselves there, and their past. That's why they were questioned or whatever. So, yeah, it's just crazy.
Well, not the one here, but with CBS since 2013. Okay. So you worked at another CBS somewhere? Yeah, I worked in trained in Marion. I worked in Peru.
Oh, does he say trained? Trained in Marion.
In Marion, I worked in Peru. Trained in Marion, I worked in Peru.
Yeah, trained in Marion, I think.
Trained in Marion, I worked in Peru. Trained in Marion, I worked in.
Yeah, I think he says I trained in Marion. So that would have been around 2013. So those of you who are looking for other cases, there you go again. That might help. He was training in Marion, apparently. Probably around 2013. All right, here's a whole group.
Like I said, the combat boots because they held water out pretty well. Combat boots because they held water out pretty well. Like I said, the combat boots because they held water out pretty well. Like I said, the combat boots because they held water out pretty well. You know what? Let me talk to my wife before I do anything. Okay.
So this is them just after they ask, can we go ahead and take your phone? We're going to take your phone and we're going to search your car. Are you okay with that? We're looking to exclude you as a suspect. He's like, nah, he doesn't want any part of that.
I'm sorry, I don't want to do this because I'm cool with it, but at the same time, I don't want her to get pissed off because I don't know. Okay.
Nah, this is interesting because he says he has to talk to his wife first. Something ain't right. He wants to make sure, in my opinion, my scenario, my thing on this. He wants to make sure he's going to go home and ask his wife, what does she know? What did I say to you? What he's going to see if he said anything to where if they do bring his wife in, she ain't going to spill the beans, right? And also, it's making it sus that, well, what do you mean you got to talk to your wife? Right? You really want your wife to know about this? And that might have pointed them too. And you have to remember, there was 177 hairs found at the case, right? Only 77 of them supposedly, or there was only 77 hairs, but only a couple were tested. And so what do I think? Well, I think he wants to get home if he is guilty. He wants to make sure, what did I tell my wife that night? What did I, he's probably covering his tracks. What did I do? Now we know this much. He wore a size 7.5 shoe. A 7.5 shoe. Now, if they have any kind of documentation or photos of footprints, okay, and it measures 7.5, they might have had something there, right? After they go to his house and what did they take from him? A size 7.5 pair of boots or something, trail boots. So, yeah, they would have him that way also, and the cigarette butt supposedly that they found at the crime scene. Now, is that true? We don't know. If there was a cigarette butt there found, and once they rolled up on him and they found out he smoked cigarettes, and that would make, I don't know who, when I was younger and you got brought into the police station and questioned, you didn't get nothing. You didn't get no smoke breaks. You want to take a break, Mr. Kramer? Have a cigarette? They didn't do shit like that. Excuse my language. So they must have needed something, maybe. Maybe that's why they gave him so many smoke breaks, because then what do you got on a cigarette? Well, it's DNA. Right? And we know right from the beginning, once they pulled them in the second time, they swabbed them for DNA. So there must have been DNA there that was left behind at the crime scene.
Okay. We watch TV shows and stuff, and I just I don't want to be associated with this thing, obviously more than anybody else does. And am I an angel of a person? No. I mean, I'm like anybody else, and I guess I don't want you. Maybe I don't want you looking at every website I visited, and so I think I'll talk to my wife, and if she's cool with it, then we'll do it.
So I don't know what that means. Good to see you, brown-eyed girl.
Yeah, it's 3:30. That would be right around 1:30 until 3:30. No, I'm saying when I left. 1:30 would have been more of the time I would have left. Okay. Not gotten there. Because the only reason I remember is because I know I left around 11 o'clock or so because they were getting ready to go do lunch. And I wasn't going to do the lunch thing with everybody. So
I don't know, Boston. It almost sounds like he says he trained. Like I trained in Marion, and then I started working. Yeah, it looks like boots to me. I don't know about military boots. It looks like work boots, maybe. But then again, it could be military boots. If so, they would go up pretty high. I don't know if there's any way to tell. I know military boots are pretty tall.
I don't think them are military boots.
Kind of looks like they might come up to about here, which would be about where the military boots are. It's just too hard to tell in this video. But if I had to guess, it does look like boots. I think we can tell that much. Especially right there. Yeah, it looks like boots to me. Sees through. Nope. No mention of beers. What's up, Lorraine? Wow, first time I hear his voice. Then down the hill. Thanks for showing. Yeah, if you want to watch it in full, go check out Tom Webster's channel. He played all of this stuff last night. I'm just kind of sharing a little clip here and there, and we're going to just talk about what we think about what we saw. Yep, they didn't find that skull cap that he's talking about.
My opinion, them ain't military boots. I think they're trial boots. Right? They come.
All right, this video is
the
Richard,
ankle, a little above the ankle,
and Jerry Holman, and then Kathy Allen as well.
And I'm like, of course you were out there.
If they see me,
She's like, they told me you were there. Of course you're out there.
see me out there, they see me out there, dear. And I
But
told
were you
them,
on the bridge?
I told them I was on the bridge. I went out to the first trestle.
Oh, okay.
That first
I
thing
don't
that,
remember you telling me that. You told me, so I told you you weren't on it.
She said, you told me you weren't on it.
You told me everything. And I'm like, of course you were out there.
if they see me out there, they see me out there, dear. And I
But
told
were you
them,
on the bridge?
I told them I was on the bridge. I went out to the first trestle.
Oh, okay.
That first
I
thing
don't
that,
remember you telling me that. You told me.
She don't remember him
So I
telling
told
her.
you you weren't on it. But I didn't.
it doesn't, hon, you're not in any trouble. You didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. Huh?
I didn't know you were on it. I'm sorry.
Well, don't worry about it.
You told
Hon,
me you were.
yes, you do. There is no way that evidence is gonna show that I did
Right
this.
fucking here, Rick.
You got one piece of evidence
I got
that I
multiple
can't
pieces.
explain.
Multiple. I'm not showing you my whole fucking hand here.
I don't care. I'm
You
showing
should
you I'm
care.
done talking.
And now you're gonna drag your fucking wife and your daughter through this because you're too fucking bullheaded to get out in front of this and admit that you made a mistake. And whatever the fuck happened out there, we'll never fucking know because you're too big of a fucking bullheaded. Go ahead.
So tell you I did something
Tell me
that
the
I
truth.
didn't do.
The truth, Rick. I don't want to
I've
know.
told you the truth and you don't wanna hear it.
The evidence tells me otherwise. The evidence clearly indicates you're involved in this.
No,
I
it
saw this.
doesn't.
It fucking does.
It doesn't. I'm telling you that there is no way that a bullet from my gun was used in these murders.
And I'm telling you that we had this fucking round on
I
February the
understand.
14th, 2017. It's been secured in the fucking laboratory. And we've tested other guns.
There he goes again, looking at the camera.
Yes, he does look at the camera. I've noticed that too in his interviews and everything. He's always looking at the camera. And what else I'd noticed was the night that they got him in the bar, before he had any inkling that he was being watched, what did he do? He looked directly into the camera for 30 minutes, didn't keep his eyes off of the camera. He was looking directly into the camera. And I agree with Sleuth, intuition. There, he's always looking to the camera and then he closes his eyes. Yeah, that might be his little giveaway, right? Some people blink a lot when they lie, right? He might be looking right into the camera with open eyes, but then he closes his eyes and looks back. I've seen that in the other things that he does too.
Hi, Ricky. Say cheese. So he's definitely conscious or he's definitely aware that those cameras are there. You know, he knows that they're there. He's thinking about that during the process.
And we've tested out.
So it's basically one and the same. Boston says, why does he turn bad cop in front of It's his brother, Jay Ray.
I could much I love both you.
Yep.
You need to hang in there, honey, okay?
Huh?
You need to just hang in there because they're going to get you an attorney soon, okay?
Will you just let everybody know how much I love?
Of course I will. They already know, hon. They all know.
No, they don't.
Yes.
All right. I'm done for today with Delphi stuff. This is, I say it's demonic, right? Him saying he's in hell, people screaming in the background. You can hear voices. It sounds horrible. We know it's inmates, right? We know it's jailers and inmates screaming or whatever, or yelling. And in concrete rooms like that, it just, the echo chamber is unreal. So we know this, but it does sound like some of these videos we watch, it does sound like he's in hell. And he very well might be in hell. And I know one thing, I don't want nothing to do with it. It does sound horrible. It does sound demonic. In some of the footage, yes, he might be possessed. He might be a sicko and he's finally realizing he sold his soul to the devil and it went bad. Who knows? He might have been a killer and done this before, right? Maybe they didn't have a bullet on this one. Maybe they had a bullet on another one. He's admitted he's traveled. He's been all over. He was he worked for CBS, and before that, I'm not sure. He was from a different state or something and moved here and lived here, then moved back. And he worked at CVS, which he had to fill in on his work at different places. And then he worked at Walmart. And he had to work in different places to cover for people when you're a manager or whatever. So he's traveled, right? Much like the Kohlberger who has traveled. So he might be a serial killer. He might have done it before. They might have evidence from other cases. We're not sure. His DNA might have hit on something else. We're not sure. And remember and keep in mind that this case is not over. Now, we're going to talk maybe later, I don't know, Delphi, but on the sounds, the different sounds of microphones, positioning of microphones that can make your voice sound different, make it sound louder when you get up to it and sound a lot lower when you get back. So it's I think it's demonic, and also other things at that time that's been going on in Indiana played a role in it. And I'm glad I'm not any of these fools, right? To even hang around with people like that. Like I said, you hang around with idiots for long enough, you'll become an idiot. And I choose not to. Now, all glory goes to God, because we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for God. And all glory goes to him. And there's more to catch. Richard Allen is not the only person that was a suspect or wanted for other crimes in Indiana. So my hat's off to everybody. Check out Sleuth Intuition's channel. I posted it in my chat. Good creator, right? Would I be able to go through something like Richard Allen is right now with the police trying to question me for something like that? No, I would have flipped out. I would have said, F you, I'm out of here. If you're not arresting me right now, I would have been pissed. I might have jumped out of a chair and went after one of these guys, right? If you're an innocent man and someone's trying to frame you, you fight to the death. And I probably would have got so pissed. There's a good chance, being that I have a disability, I might have leaped across that table. That's a lot of pressure, but he was trained. He was National Guard, military. They train you to keep your integrity, your temper. They train you how to keep your temper down so you can make smart decisions and not panic under pressure, under fire. So he was trained, right? He ain't dumb. And they might have done their work and got lucky. And like I said, the case ain't over with. And I do believe there at that there was more sickos in that area than people realize. And they're not going to admit that they know all these people, not unless they're why did he mention the McCains? Now, McCains supposedly were there. The witnesses put them there. They were dog guy and flannel guy or whatever, whoever it was, right? So were they there? How were they? Why were they there? If they were there, I can see them being there with Richard when they tore the shack down. But if they were there the same day and Richard shows up, was there a reason? Right? Was Richard just a kill guy? It's possible. But I can tell you this much. Now that we're hearing the voice through microphone, like through a phone, which it was originally recorded, well, now it's starting to sound more like Richard in the way he phrased things or whatever. Now, that don't mean it's Richard, because I'm not a professional. I'm just an idiot. And there's other voice guys that we had. We had like 5 people where their voices matched. It sounded like them. And we also had 5, 6, maybe 7 people that also fit the description of these sketches and Bridge Guy. Right? So the case is still on. And like I said, the case was still going on when they caught Keegan Klein, when they caught Chadwell, Kurtz, the one Sullivan guy or whatever, and numerous more, Keegan Klein and all them, right? Case was still an ongoing case. So, and I imagine it'll stay ongoing, till I get them all. Right? I would imagine so. And they might not even have found these guys or Richard Allen if it wasn't for busting these other guys. Right? That's true too. That's possible. And like many people said, would we be here today if Richard Allen never went to the police or never mentioned anything to his wife or anybody? We might not have been here today. We might not have been, if that lady didn't find that Richard Allen was covered or witnessed, like the file said, but was never followed up on. If that lady didn't find it, would we be here today? Probably not. No, probably not, but we're here today and the case goes on. And I don't even care about the confessions. I mean, the confessions play a role, but I don't care about the confessions at this point. What we were looking at was a voice match, right? I mean, well, he confessed. I don't care about that. He can confess to killing Ronald McDonald, the clown. But if the voice don't match, it's not him, right? If the evidence that they showed us was not tampered with, it's not him. He can confess to killing everybody. But if the evidence is not matching and the voice doesn't match, then it's not him. So I didn't take the confessions in to any kind of evidence right yet, because we want to know, does the voice match? Do we have an analyzed voice match? If it's a go, well then, okay, now let's listen to the confessions, right? If that is his voice and that's him on the bridge, and it's 100% match. Okay, let's listen. He confessed. All right. Now they did their work, and they got the guy. Hello, RC99. So, all right. So we got a bunch of new stuff, and Delphi is going to be popping off, folks. You're going to see Delphi stuff probably for a while now that all this new information was released. And I'm glad they released it. I'm glad they released it. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm glad finally the public is starting to get to listen. And we have something to compare voices with. The bar footage of his voice, of Richard Allen's, there wasn't enough there to compare it. The ski lift of him and his wife on the ski lift, there just wasn't enough there, and it wasn't clear enough to analyze. Now you got him talking on a phone where the original footage was recorded to a microphone from a phone. Now I can see how they're saying, well, it sounds like him, and it does. Like I said, though, that don't mean it's 100% him, because nothing is 100%. And it's still possible to set somebody up. Why? Well, because if he was having an altercation with somebody or his wife or family or whatever, they would have had access to that. Maybe a friend came in, he invited somebody over, he hung up with whatever, and he walked out of the room, they cycled a bullet through. Yeah, that's possible. It only takes a second. Was there a chance he set up? Well, yeah, there was a chance he set up. But if they didn't get the bullet from that murder, they got it from somewhere else. And where was that somewhere else? I mean, even Richard Allen said that. If you got that bullet, it wasn't from this crime. Well, bingo. Well, then maybe they did have a bullet, but from somewhere else. Right? For all we know, there could be numerous things they got. We don't know yet. It's like Kohlberger. How many did he kill? Well, I don't know. You don't just wake up and start with 4 people. Then again, you don't wake up and just kill 2 young girls. Do you? Not most. I got a disability and was on retard pills for many, 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 many years. But I know if I do something bad like that, there's no way out of it. You'll end up going to prison for the rest of your life. And still to this day, as people say, well, you're crazy. Yeah, but at least I'm not that crazy to go out and do something like that. Excuse me. Right? That's instant death or prison. And either way, you're going to die. So, no, I wouldn't take no chances like that, folks. I don't know. There's crazy, and then there's crazy. And these people that did this are crazy, crazy. All right, let's see what RC99 said before we close this video down. I hope some people on the fence finally realize what a load of crap it is. Well, there's a lot of suspects. There's a lot of madness you had to look into that was going on in Indiana before Delphi. There was a lot of things. Was it a cover-up? The police are trying to frame them. Well, it's possible. If you got the right witch and sorcerer, I guess it is from what they're saying. I guess everyone practices as crap in India. I never seen it before. Like, the Odins and witches in the woods. I'm like, where? Now you got people out in the woods. We're looking for these people. I ain't never seen them. I've been out fishing before. I ain't seen no bunch of voodoo crap in the trees and dolls around or pentagons or whatever, but it probably is. They probably are. It would make sense why this country is in the shape it's in. People out there in dark robes at night with candles, sacrificing stuff and chanting. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I'm not saying they have anything to do with Delphi, but I wouldn't doubt that these organizations exist. Well, I wouldn't doubt it. They do sacrifice. They probably have giant orgies. I'm never invited to nothing anymore. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but that's what they say they do. And from all the footage on YouTube and everything, I wouldn't doubt it. I never get invited to the crazy stuff. And thank God, all glory goes to God. Let me see what RC99. I do think it was drugs, ex-military, psycho, working for some bad people. Yeah, it happens. Phew, yeah, yeah. And where he could have messed up was the alcohol, right? Who knows how messed up he was? If he was already on psychological pills and then alcohol, that was the first thing they told me. Don't mix this crap with alcohol. It'll kill you. You can have a heart attack and die instantly. And when I was on them pills, I never touched alcohol. I quit way before I had to take them pills. But I took their word for it. They're like, if you mix this stuff with alcohol, you could die like that. Just boom. So I didn't monkey with it. He did. So there's a good chance he was so messed up. He just don't remember what he did until finally things are coming back to him. And he's like, okay, I he said he did it. And a man that's perfectly innocent wouldn't say he didn't do it. What do you want me to do, Lord? Is what I'm asking. Because if we're to believe in thy God and the Bible, then Richard Allen didn't do it. It was the devil. Can we convict him on that? On earth, they say no, he's guilty. Right? The devil had nothing to do with it. But if we believe in thy God Almighty, King of Kings, bringer of the light within the dark, then the devil is real, and Richard Allen was possessed by the devil or cursed or spelled or whatever. Yeah. If he was under drugs, meds, and then drinking alcohol or whatever, he could open the door to this thing, this curse, this spell, and he did a horrible thing. What do you folks want from us? I mean, we don't know where we're going with this. I don't know where I'm going with it because it's a double-headed sword. If you believe in the government, if you believe in the Bible, the government's going to tell you you're crazy. Take these pills. The devil is not real. The church, the Bible, is going to tell you the devil is real. All right, folks, I'll be back. Thanks for stopping in on this video. There's going to be all kinds of stuff going on with the Delphi case. I think I'm going to take a break. I'm done. I did 3 videos, and I'm already gone crazy over this stuff. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, anything is possible in a murder case, especially in a double murder of 2 young teenage girls. Right? If he would have just SA'd them and they never died, he probably would have been in better shape. I mean, Bain even coming down hard on Keegan Kline, and he had 200-300 photos and was setting up fake accounts. They didn't come down that hard on him. People don't even look at Keegan Kline as bad as they look at Richard Allen if he's the murderer, because he's the one that took their lives, their precious lives. Right? God rest their souls. So Richard, if he's the guy, like they're saying, and it does sound like it, and evidence now that all this was released, yeah. But was he the only one? I don't know. The case goes on. I'll be back later, folks. Have a great night. God bless. Thank all you folks for showing up. Make sure you check out Sleuth Intuition's channel. He's got some good stuff over there. He's a good creator, but do I know these people? No. I've never met these people in my life. Right? but I'll give props due where props are due. And it's a good channel. And check out Crime Circus. Right? That's a good channel too. Props are due where they're due. That's about all I can do. You folks have a good night. God bless. Talk to you later.